Hello, I'm Neil Whelan, and welcome to the Wesleyan podcast. In this special, extra-long episode to celebrate South Asian Heritage Month, 4 Wesleyan colleagues get around the table to discuss their South Asian heritage, what it means to them, and how it impacts them at work as well as at home. It's a genuinely fascinating conversation, and there's loads for everyone, no matter what your background, to think and talk about. And because of that, we've had to break it up into 2 parts. But for now, settle in with a cup of hot beverage of your choice and hear from Jeevan Gosal, Dalbir Jubilee, Nabeel Khan, and first up, Ajay Saini.
For those that don't already recognise my dulcet tones, I'm Ajay, a senior auditor here at Wesleyan and co-chair of the BME Network. And for this podcast, we're delving into South Asian Heritage Month and this year's theme, which is Roots to Roots. But without further ado, I'll let the rest of the panel introduce themselves. So I'll cut to you first.
I'm Dalbir Jubilee. I don't know why I qualify for this. I suppose because I'm South Asian, genetically made up at some point. But yeah, so I'm Dalbir Jubilee. I am a devoted now husband and father, and quite interested in this conversation. To be fair, because my experience, hopefully we'll get to touch on that a little bit. It's quite different, I think. Because my parents they were from India, they were from Fiji, so my view is a little bit different to conservative views, I think, sometimes. So I'd like to tease some of that out today.
Sounds good.
Cool. I'm Jeevan Gosal. I work in financial crime here at Wesleyan, anti-financial crime, I say. And I've been at Wes for almost 9 years. So my whole professional life, Wesleyan is all I've known, basically. So some of the questions that we're going to be touching upon, like how was your South Asian identity maybe being challenged or being brought to your professional life? Wesleyan's all I've known in that sense. So on my side, I am, second generation if my parents were born here, right? So I'm second generation. My husband is first, so my in-laws are quite different to my parents, quite similar in age, but then slightly different upbringings. So my grandparents were the ones that came here, and with my husband Harvey, it's his grandparents and his parents that came here from India. So we've kind of got a bit of a mix in our house.
And my name's Nabeel Khan. I work in direct. I've been here just under 9 years as well, so it's been 9 years in September. I somehow have become the Wesleyan spokesperson for Islam, and I don't know how that happened. It's quite into my lap, and I'm taking the reins on that one, which is absolutely fine, and I'm happy to do that. Looking forward to answering some questions. Mine's slightly different as well. There's not a full mix of just South Asian heritage in there. There's a little bit of other mix as well. So yeah, we can get into it.
No spoilers.
No spoilers just yet.
So obviously the theme is roots to roots, and it's kind of focused on history, and kind of not just in a migration and movement sense, but kind of heritage, identity, and also kind of legacy. And it's very much kind of, I kind of think of a quote that I've heard, which is, it's up to us to live based on the legacy that was left behind for us, and to leave our own that is worthy of our children and our children's children. Which is quite a deep way of looking at
very ambitious.
Very ambitious way of looking at legacy. My parents are both Indian. My dad's Hindu, my mum's Sikh. My mum was born here. Dad was first generation from India, but my wife's side is real mixed because it's Gujarati Indian, but from Kenya and Tanzania. So it's a complete different shift. It's a different perspective completely. And both of her parents came from there back in the 70s, whenever it was. But, yeah. Okay, I'll throw out the questions, and then I'll let whoever wants to take the mantle go first.
You're looking at me.
I'm just everyone just throw in the answers. It's fine. So I suppose the first one is like, what does South Asian mean to us personally?
It's an very interesting question. To me, I'm still answering it, I think, and it's not one answer for me. What it means to me and my family is a different conversation. My children being born here, culturally, a little bit different. my parents being from another country, Fiji, different. Their experiences were different, but at some point they connected with their roots because they had that opportunity and they did. But so yeah, I'm still answering it, and I don't know the answer to it. That's the truth. I don't think there is a one answer now. It's not just that we come from a village in a certain town or a certain part of the world. I think the mix is being born in the UK. We've had this opportunity to redefine what it is to be South Asian. I think sometimes we don't delve into that too much. I think we are always looking at it from, oh, what's your band?
Yeah.
What good do you go to?
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? But actually, Dalbir Jubilee, now sitting in the UK, we've got different education, different sources of knowledge. So I'm redefining, I think, in my home anyway, I think I'm redefining what it is to be South Asian.
Yeah.
Because we've got, I could support Fiji if they played cricket. Not just India and England. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Pakistan, because my granddad was from now Pakistan.
Yeah.
Lahore, but it wasn't Pakistan then.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know the answer. I think I'm enjoying trying to find out.
It's almost like the working world. It's now hybrid.
Yeah.
It's hybrid, yeah.
But I think that's true for probably all of us sat around the table. If we're 1, 2, even 3 generations in from grandparents or parents or spouses moving to the UK, we're in a limbo state because no one really knows. We have just started living.
Yeah.
So we're all defining it, and then I think it's when you get a couple generations further down the line, like there's no actual.
It feels like we're the pivotal generation to deciding what the future will hold for
The future
next
generation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we are that one in between.
Yeah.
It's like we could very easily be the generation that loses a lot of the heritage
Yeah.
if we don't retain some of it potentially, and the next generation are already moving away from it.
Yeah, which is the hard part because, like Dal, I'm a father to 2 boys. My grandfather came to England in the 50s, I think it was, or 60s. So my granddad came quite early. My dad was actually born in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Well, I say Pakistan. He was born in Kashmir.
Yeah.
So there's a mix there. Obviously, he's not. My nanny was actually born. So my mum's mum was actually born in Kenya. So there's a spoiler alert now. The spoilers are coming out.
They're coming out now.
Yeah, my grandmother was born. My nan was born in Kenya. Came over to Kenya. So her parents moved to Kenya when a lot of because my nanny's mum and dad, my nan's mum and dad were from India originally. And then obviously moved to Lahore when obviously the partition happened. So they were from Lahore. They came over to Kenya. My nan, all her brothers and everything were born there. My mum was then born in the UK. So whereas my dad was born in Kashmir and he was from back home, as you would call it, my mum was born here. So we've been here for a few generations now. It is my identity. I am proud of my identity. I'm proud of it that I'm, slight mix of Kashmiri, Pakistani, Kenyan. And I try to instill that into my kids as well, to say, regardless of wherever, this is our identity. You're always going to have roots there. My kids have never been back home. They've never seen their village. They've never seen their village back home.
Mine.
I never went to Kenya to go see where my nanny was born and where my nanny's family, my dad's family.
Fiji.
Never been. Much to my disappointment, because I'd love to go. Because from what I've heard, my nan's brother's house backs onto the Seraph.
If anyone wants to fund me, it's about $4,000 on you to go. I'm happy for you to send it in.
But that South Asian heritage thing is a massive part of my identity, and it's something I'll always be proud of. And I think it's what makes the country that we live in a good country, because of the diversity, the mixture that we've got. But I think for us it was slightly different growing up, because we still had when I was in college, when I was in primary school, there were only 4 Asian people in my primary school. It was me, my brother, and my 2 best friends. When I went to college, I had a culture shock because I grew up in a predominantly white area. So when I went to college, I had secondary school. I had a massive culture shock, because I'm like, where have all these Asian people come from? I didn't know that there was that many. And I was so narrow-minded growing up, because I just thought it was Indians, Pakistanis, Muslims and Sikhs. I didn't know there were Hindus and Indian Christians and, Hindu Punjabis and this. So
There's a lot going on.
There was a lot going on. It was, for me, Muslims were Pakistanis.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about
Yeah.
Bengalis.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's how narrow.
Or Indians even.
Indian Muslims,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So, and when I went to college, I got even more of a shock, and I was like, an Indian Muslim, huh? How does that work? Big part of my life, extremely proud of it, but I am extremely proud that I can call myself a British Pakistani.
Yeah.
I like to know that British Pakistani, but it is hard out there because we still, if you want the honesty, you know, I'm very loud on social media when it comes to certain things. I've had to come off things like X and things like that because of all the arguments that I had. I keep getting told off because I keep debating with people on social media about stuff, and I keep getting told off by my family, and that it's going to stress you out, and so you need to stop. Because Dal, before you jump in, because I still get told to this day that even though I was born here, you're not from here.
But that's very South Asian. That's Inqalabi.
Yeah.
Right? That is very South Asian. To always question the status quo.
Yeah.
And be prepared to have an argument where it's needed, isn't it? That's what I wanted to make. The point I was going to say, that is still very South Asian, bro.
Yeah.
But very British as well, because we've got that platform.
Yeah.
And we've got that opinion. I know people in some communities that won't question the status quo. And that's what being South Asian means to them.
Yeah.
And we've got this opportunity where we can be a voice.
Yeah.
We can represent. And that's exciting. That is exciting for me. But yeah, so to you, that Inqalabi, I could hear it in your voice, but it's there.
Yeah.
So Inqalabi means, what does it mean? More revolutionary. That's what it means.
Yeah, but I think it's just trying to, like you said, AJ, it's that change, that holding on to your identity from where you've come from, where your roots are originally, but and trying to obviously pass it on to the future generations, pass it on to my boys so they can pass it on to their children in the future, God willing. But also holding on to that, you know, we don't live there, we live here, we've had our education here, we work here, we pay taxes here, everything is here, but you've still got to hold on to that narrative.
It is quite interesting. And look, we're still talking about this one topic still, But from my parents' point of view, when they were living in Fiji, they didn't know what being South Asian really was. It was an idea. Maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that. And then when they came to the UK, Dad spoke English and Hindi, because Fiji was then, the British were still a part of Fiji then, and so he had that. But then when they then integrated into, my dad learned Punjabi when he came here. He didn't know it out there because in Fiji predominantly speak Hindi, more of a wider used language. But then they tried to connect with their roots.
Yeah.
But they never really made it a big part of our life. They were just doing their own thing. That happened to be, this is what we do at wedding. But they didn't, I questioned somebody about this. There was an argument, I think my sister-in-law was getting married, and there's a thing called a Jeevan, which is a garland that gets put on a wedding. And my mother-in-law she's Punjabi, Sikh Punjabi, and she was saying we do it after the wedding ceremony. And then my sister-in-law's mother-in-law is Hindu, Indian, and she's saying, no, we do it at the beginning. I think it's a bit of the way back. And I walked in, I was like, "What are you two debating? What's the purpose of it? Why'd you do it?" And they paused and they said, "Shut up! Don't question it.
We say no.
So what did they settle on?
I can't remember now. I think it happened.
At that point, down was like, I've had enough.
So at the wedding, I think my mother, Nita, correct me if I'm wrong if you listen to this, I think my mother-in-law didn't win the argument. I think my sister-in-law's mum.
So obviously there's a lot of mix in there, but then at the same time, from a positive perspective as well, is there a moment that you felt truly felt seen or heard as a South Asian?
So not specifically a moment, but in the past 10, 15 years, I've noticed there's been more of a shift in terms of like written history and researched history, and there's more of there's a field now, I suppose, dedicated to that with actual historians. So when I was younger and I was in primary school, there was textbooks on like British Empire. It's a really great thing. The British spread so far around the globe and did all this stuff. And there was a picture of a Sikh prince in there. And at the time when I distinctly remember looking at this textbook, I was probably 8 years old, 9 years old, thinking, oh, that's cool. He looks like me. Not understanding actually why the British were over there, what they did to this prince, what that meant for everything and for future generations to come, and how that meant that I've ended up in the UK. But over the past 10, 15 years, with this more established field, instead of relying on those history books, there's actual research, there's actual history. So last year there was an exhibition in London with actual real artifacts from the Sikh Empire, and in 2018 as well. And going to those exhibitions and thinking, wow, this is my culture on display in a museum. There's an actual exhibition for this. Whereas usually you go to a museum and it's, just normal stuff. There's the Egyptians, there's the ancient Greeks, there's all that really cool stuff. But to see that and be like, well, we have that rich culture and we had all of that as well, and it can be displayed and we can
which for many
learn that
communities has been
history.
hidden for a very long time,
Yeah.
hasn't it? And I get history and I get why it's done like that. But the question you're asking is in a positive light, and unfortunately, I've only, for a big part of my life, only experienced it from a negative point of view.
Mhm.
I've only been called an Asian because it's, or Asian, or not even a South Asian. There's other words that I'm not
Yes.
going to share now, which always made me laugh. But I think it's hilarious. I think it's crazy. But unfortunately, that was the recognition. There's never been an opportunity where someone said, "Oh, there's an Indian. They rating 0. Let's go and ask him. He might know the answer to this." But that is changing. That is changing. I think But I don't. I'm not a fan of it changing because I'm a certain ethnicity. I need to be the right person for the job. Yeah, my opinion needs to be valid if it's the right opinion for that subject, not because we just need him in there because the Asian guy. That's the worst thing that we can do.
tokenism.
Well, yeah, that's the worst thing that we can do. I think.
And fit the quota just because you're not, you're an Asian person. We don't need that. We don't want to be the token.
The brilliant thing is, I benefit from 2 systems. I went to school with my white counterparts, for example, learned what they learned, but also I've got this wealth of knowledge that I can incorporate into my thinking that unfortunately that person hasn't got, but that may maybe give a different answer. And sometimes I do quirky answers.
Yeah.
But I've got to be the right person for it. I don't need to be recognised for just being an Asian. That's just me. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't need to be. I'm not a great fan of just being recognised for being an Indian or a brown person or whatever it is. At the end of it all, my true, honest opinion is I'm a person.
Yeah.
Human being. Yeah. Basic level, yeah. And that's how I see the world. That's how I see people, and I'm proud of that. And I teach my children that as well.
Yeah.
Then the culture, the religion, and all these things come in afterwards. But unfortunately for me, I can't sit here and say there's been a positive day when I was recognised. I mean, even I didn't used to wear a turban before. Even when I wore a turban, I'm walking down Broad Street. My wife is beautiful. I'm walking down Broad Street, and I'm getting the Punjabi, oh, Baji. I'm getting that language.
Yeah.
And that's from brown people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Now, I don't react to it. I understand it. But even in the South Asian community, there is tears.
Yeah.
And the positivity.
Yeah.
It's quite debatable.
So I when it comes to my South Asian heritage, it is a part of my identity, and I am proud of it, and I will always be proud of it. But I think I'm like, there isn't a lot of stuff that I can say there was a positive connotation. So I live my life slightly different. That my South Asian heritage is not my main goal, my main identity. My main identity is I'm a Muslim first.
Yeah.
So I'm a Muslim first.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Muslim, British, Pakistani. That's how
it's a good foundation to build.
That's how, and that's where I get my moral compass from, my thoughts, my patterns, and how I try to be like Danny's a good person, and incorporate all of that into my life. I try to instill that into my children as well, and God willing, hopefully, it will be something that they will be proud of as well. I mean, the question about it being a positive, AJ, is quite a difficult one because if you look at, and I'm going to go talk about the media and things like that now. If you look at the media, the Pakistani grooming gang scenario that's been going on across the country for so many years puts a real slant on what Pakistanis are actually, or South Asians are actually trying to do. So it's a Pakistani issue. We know it's a Pakistani issue, but unfortunately, as a part of that Pakistani issue, Indians will be thrown into that same bracket as well because they're brown, not for any other reason. The Indians will get thrown into the Bengalis will get thrown into it because we're still looked at as the same essentially.
Yeah.
So that's where the negative comes in. However, what I have seen as a positive is over the last few years is the camaraderie, the brotherhood of Indians and Pakistanis. As you know, what you're my brother still. We at one point in time we were our ancestors were eating out of the same
That's
plate.
right. Historically, people don't quite understand this.
Yeah,
That Muslim, Sikh, but the bloodline
yeah,
is, if you really go back into time, especially the Indian subcontinent.
yeah,
Our great granddad was a Hindu.
yeah,
Or Indian, maybe not a Hindu, but they were Indian.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we've culturally and religiously we've diversified now.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting point.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the positives I look at, that there is a massive camaraderie now. We don't look at that. I don't look at my Indian brothers and go, they're Indian. I just go, they're my brothers.
Yeah.
They're my sisters. That's who they are to me.
Unless when the cricket's on.
Not even when the cricket's on. I was watching the Legends game the other day, and I find it hilarious because I thought, you guys are sitting there, really good point to bring up. You guys are sitting there arguing. You guys are walking out and not playing the game. You're standing on the balcony watching as they're not playing the game. About 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, I'll guarantee you your grandparents were sat there eating roti together. And you're sitting here worried about this sort of stuff now.
You just touched on a sport, cricket. Isn't that a positive
Massive.
connotation of South Asian recognition? Because they are like at the forefront.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest attendance or biggest watch sport or sporting event is the Pakistan versus India cricket match. There is nothing that comes close. Not the World Cup, not the NFL, not NBA. Nothing comes close to what you get when you see India and Pakistan. And you know what? I've been to Edgbaston and watched India versus Pakistan, and yeah, there might be a little bit of banter, but you know the love between the fans. Whether they're India or Pakistan, okay, you're going to get your handful of people who are idiots. But the love between the India and Pakistan fans is brilliant because you know what? They speak the same language. Culturally, there's very little that is different between us, between Pakistanis and between Indians. I mean, I see it as well, and I'm like, when I speak to, when I speak Punjabi, I'm luckily that my mum spoke Punjabi. My dad speaks Mirpuri. Or Patari, whichever one you want to call it, which is a dialect from Kashmir. My nanny speaks a little bit of Swahili and Punjabi. I've got family members who speak Urdu. So there's a real mix, and I grew up listening to all of it kind of thing. So
my granddad read Urdu.
Yeah.
The newspaper would be, he could happily read Urdu. And a lot of old generation did.
Isn't it fun when you can see the similarities as well? That word. But we say that.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a completely different religion sometimes, and everything else might sound so different, and there's a couple of words, and you're like,
absolutely.
I have to note though, Urdu is a much politer way of saying things, whereas Punjabi is a very beautiful.
Yeah.
Urdu is poetic.
It's very poetic.
That's what it is.
But Mirpuri, which is what my predominant language is, that's very like.
Is that an in between?
It's an in between. It's a slang of Punjabi.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your English slang. Mirpuri is like a slang of
It's
Punjabi.
more abrupt.
Yeah. So when you talk, it's best when you listen to elders talking and they're talking 100 miles an hour.
My neighbours, I've got it right in my.
You hear people telling you, like the elders telling you off or something like that, and you can't help but laugh. Go, bloody hell, that sounds really harsh. That does.
Crazy.
Even when they're trying to be lovely, it sounds really harsh. But yeah. Sorry, I think we went off on a bit of a tangent then. But, you know, positives are coming. I can see that there are positives that will probably come later on. But, you know,
sometimes we have to almost step back and think, well, what are the... Like, so personally for me, one moment for me was very much... it was this year when I went to Smethwick Midler, Vasaki Midler, and it was like... It was a moment for, like, sitting in the riot hall and just listening to Kirtan was great. But then when I was walking around afterwards, it's like every single person who was non-Asian... was wearing a head covering, you know, ride operators, whatever it was, food stalls, whatever, that were non-Sikh, all of them were still wearing it. And that's a moment where you kind of think, actually, it's acceptance. You don't have to, you know, it's acceptance of religion, even in the smallest way. Yeah, okay, it's the, you know, Sikh community that's gone and given them those things, but it's just, sometimes the small things are the positives that we sometimes forget.
And to Nabeel's point is, you know what? First generation, second generation, it's still early doors yet.
Yeah.
Third and fourth, by the time children have grown up and properly integrated into society, you would hope that it's a more naturally organic flowing recognition.
But it's really nice to see, like, I've got a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and he's in his class, and he's innocent. They're innocent at that age, they ain't got a clue. But the way I watch them and how he plays with his friends, whether they're
They don't see it.
Kurds.
They don't see it.
He's got a Kurdish friend, he's got a Pakistani friend, he's got a black friend, he's got a white friend. But to them, they're just friends.
Just friends.
Exactly.
Growing up, when I was when it was us, we were separate. They were over there, we were over here. Yeah, so that's a positive to see. That, in my kids now, everybody, you just look and that's my friend, Daddy. I don't look at anything else. That's just my friend. He doesn't say that's my black friend. He doesn't say that's my Chinese friend. He goes, that's just my friend, which is really good to see.
That is excellent.
So, as somebody who's been at Wes for an entire career, so I'll throw this one out to yourself first. Are there any cultural stereotypes you've had to challenge, either at work or in your own life?
Personally, no, but this is my experience.
Yeah.
Because I found that Wesleyan's been inclusive enough. So when I've needed time for certain things, so my wedding 3 years ago took 2 weeks off, they were kind of like, 2 weeks off just for your wedding? And I was like, yeah, no.
She said, that's the short span.
And it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Annual leave's approved. When it's come to things like funerals, I know usually bereavement policy is your immediate, like circle, household, like parents and like maybe grandparents, and that's it. But within our cultures, we definitely have kind of an extended, like, I don't know what the word is for it, but if someone's, say if it was like my sister-in-law's family, I would still go because we're close enough, we have a relationship with them, we have our period of mourning is longer. We don't just have a day off for the funeral, you have a period of mourning up to that point, where you might need to take certain parts out of the day. So when I've needed that time, Wesleyan and my managers I've had different managers, but everyone's been relatively understanding, take that time out, it's fine, we do what you need to do. So I've found Wesleyan as an institution has been very supportive compared to when I can see friends in other companies going through the same kind of thing and needing similar time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've had the same experience with that as well. I mean, absolutely right. I think our culture and the way our family dynamics run, that it's not just your mum, dad, your grandparents. You've got your chachas, your dayas, your uncles, whether they be your aunties and things like that. But example, I had a family member pass away a few months ago, and although they're not direct, as in like within my little circle, because of that, how big our family circles are, essentially, you are there for, the mourning part before, and obviously the funeral, and then anything post as well.
Yeah.
And I have to agree with you. There is obviously a bit of an explanation needed. One of the things like, Mr. Manager, look, this is how it works. This is how it works for us, kind of thing. It's slightly different. But yeah, I've been very lucky that I've had very inclusive managers, and Wesleyan has they've kind of pushed that inclusivity to be able to understand that we are very, very different in the way we do things. For me, there isn't really much like Eid celebrations and things like that, but I usually, I use my annual leave. I've even offered to work over Christmas, because Christmas for me is just another day.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll work over Christmas, but what I'll do as Nabeel, thanks for working over Christmas. What we'll do, we'll allow you to work, we'll allow you to have a day off for Eid because you worked on Christmas Day or you worked on Boxing Day, kind of thing. If you do ever do that, so being able to explain that and have that understanding from everybody, and then them being inclusive and allowing you to do that has been brilliant from my point of view. I was trying to echo what Jeevan said as well, then.
So Wesleyan is a really interesting one for me, So I was an atheist for a very long time, and when I joined the Wesleyan, I was in that mindset. And then I chose to follow the Sikh faith, and the Wesleyan, the people that I worked with were fantastic, right? I transitioned completely, right? So I went from being a skinhead to, right, I'm growing a beard now, tying a turban. This is all new to me. I was
Yeah.
learning it because, like I said to you before, my parents didn't force anything on us. It wasn't like you got to do this, you got to do that. So I'm pretty much learning it as I was going on.
Yeah.
But the people that I worked with, the Wesleyan, I was in CRC then. We're talking about 12, 13 years ago now. The people that I worked with were so fantastic, so understanding.
Yeah.
Let me grow, right? Let me grow my hair. Let me grow as a person. And sort of were curious. And I said to them, whatever you're asking, I'm asking the same thing. I'm learning as well. So wicked, don't mind. And that was happening. However, there were some senior leaders that didn't quite understand. And this was very surprising to me because we were in Birmingham.
Yeah.
You didn't know the difference between a Sikh or a Muslim. You go to a mosque, don't you? I was like, no, I don't. I don't. No, I don't. But this is Muslims go to a mosque, go to temple, and essentially the goal is the same, I suppose, right? And you know what? So I listened to it. Then I was sitting in a group of peers, and the one manager, she was like, "Oh, it's Christmas. What are you gonna do? Swap your turban for a red one and be Santa."
Yeah.
That one happened, and I was like, "All right, okay, it's fine. I get it, but I need to have a chat with you now. Like, if my colleague Bupinda, who also ties a turban, walked past and heard that comment, I don't think they're going to be as understanding of it as I am. So I'm going to give you this opportunity. You don't know much. If you have any questions, probably ask me and I'll try and educate you as I'm educating myself."
Yeah.
Now, that isn't the complete experience. That generally the experience has been so supportive that people that I knew as a kid, I don't meet them no more. They're not in my life. The Wesleyan supported me and allowed me to be myself. And I got that from work. I wasn't, but and I don't want to make it as a negative. Unfortunately, I was just surprised that someone living in the Midlands.
Yeah.
How have you missed
Culturally
this?
diverse.
How have you missed this? Yeah. Especially in your role as well. So I don't think I've come across that since, but it was, and it was my my boss.
Yeah.
It was at that level. And maybe from her point of view, it wasn't malicious, and I understand that too. But I do remember having to rein it in a little bit to say, look, you got to be careful because, okay, I can sit here and I can because my personality is a little bit like that. I can see the funny side of things. I have experienced racism in the past, but it's never defined me as a person. I've never chose my friends because of my negative experiences. Yeah, I've given people the benefit of the doubt. And I took it on as a responsibility to say, look, I'll help you if you need help, if you want it. And she did say, look, teach me if you can. I'm happy to learn it. But I don't know how much of that happens. And I think Wesleyan's done a lot of work to try and not let that happen, whether consciously or unconsciously, I don't know.
Yeah.
Other organisations, I don't think they're quite where the Wes is.
Yeah. We've consciously tried to do the education piece, I think.
Right.
And I think that's one of the big things to take out of what you said, Dad, is that she actually said, educate me.
Yeah.
There could have been a bit of, well, I don't know and I don't want to know kind of thing, but she said, educate me.
I didn't hold it against the person. I'm not holding it against anyone. I'm just saying there is sometimes, I suppose what I would say to anybody is if you're not sure, ask the people around you, and everybody is more than happy to explain, why is that?
And this is what I've tried to do from an Islamic point of view, because, and I know it's going off the South Asian heritage thing, but just as a piece that we see how a lot of negative connotations within the media and in the world about the religion that I love and 2 billion people in the world love. My job here is to educate myself to be able to educate others.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always say, if you've got a question, I'm not going to be offended. You can ask whatever question you want. Come and ask me, because that allows me to teach you. And if I don't know, it's my job to go away and go and find out. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we need to do with the South Asian heritage thing, with our heritage as well. That if you don't know, ask the question. If we don't know, it's our job to go and find out.
I remember, look, I'm first generation. I'm still learning. I don't know everything. I don't know why they do certain things or what's happening over there. There's a lot of stuff that we don't pay attention to and it's out there, but we ask questions. I did anyway. I asked in my life, and I always got in trouble. Always got in trouble for it, but I always have questioned, why are you doing that for, man? Don't make sense. Give me an answer that I can process and understand. And I'll
more logical.
Either I'm with you or I'm not, but I need to understand. But I don't do things blindly. So I think what I would say to the even from South Asian heritage backgrounds or the wider community, whichever one it is, if you're not sure about something, don't make an assumption. Approach somebody that you can approach. If you see me, I've got a turban. There's not many turbans in the world. You can approach me and ask me, and I'm more than happy to explain. If I can't, I've got a wealth of people that I can ask that can bridge that gap.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power, right? It's a fantastic thing. And what we don't know, I think, frightens us sometimes.
Yeah.
And when we're frightened, we act in a certain way.
Yeah.
When we're comfortable, we act in a certain way. And that's a lot better environment, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Do you know there is a challenge in the workplace that I've never addressed, and because I don't know how to, and I just let it slide. It's people saying my name correctly.
I've heard it.
You've heard it. But I've had that since like primary school. Some people will say Jeevan, and yes, that's how you say it. Then I get Jeevan, I get Javeen. When people that one I don't understand, because if someone's reading my name on an email and then just typed it the wrong way themselves, but they're based on what they've read, I don't understand. But I never usually correct it. Because I don't feel comfortable myself. I just kind of let it slide, like whatever. It's not that important. But then it is my name.
Yeah.
And so I haven't got kids yet, but me and my husband talk about, potential names or whatever. I've got a list that I'm not sharing with him because he tells people. But I also then consider, what if my child then goes to school? How will that name be said? So I would like to keep traditional names where possible, but I don't want it to be butchered in a way that where they do go into this environment that we all live in now.
Yeah, we've had this conversation. She'd had this conversation. I mean, a name, but I went traditional. You know, I went traditional.
Yeah. So my name is Nabeel. Growing up, I got called many things: Batmobile, Ian Beale, whatever it is, because it rhymes. I remember them. Yeah, I remember on an email once here at the Wesleyan, it clearly says Nabeel Khan. You can see it. And, I don't know whether the individual who emailed me back was dyslexic or whatever it is. There might be something, but they always replied, and they always spelled my name or put my name on the emails as Nadeel instead of Nabeel. And I'm like you, Jeevan. I didn't address it. I just left it. I was like, it is what it is. Don't worry about it. But now I've got kids. My son's names are Kayan and Osman. So when Osman goes to... Kayan's quite easy. His teachers call him Kayan, so it's quite easy to pronounce. With my youngest, his name's Osman, and there's a particular way of saying it. His teachers call him Osman. So I've had to go into school and say, no, his name is Osman, and I want you to I would prefer you to address him as Osman, because when he comes home, I don't want him to go, Daddy, I'm Osman. No, son, your name's Osman. Yeah. So I've had to address that with the school. They've now obviously changed now how they pronounce it. They've asked me, is there a way of, specifically pronounce it? I said, instead of saying Osman, just say Osman. It's quite simple.
Well, the name thing, right? Look, the name for Dalbir, right? It's Dalbir actually.
Yeah.
But Dalbir is how it's pronounced, right? It's Dalbir, right? Okay, fine. So after all the years that I've been hearing it, I've abbreviated it to Dal.
Yeah.
People still get it wrong. Daryl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been called Daryl, man. It's one of them. Yeah. But it's what I've been through that. I have corrected people. I've got a bit of satisfaction out of it. And it is your name, it is your identity. But you know what? I was called Pete as a nickname because when I was born, I didn't leave the hospital and the nurses had to call me something, so they called me Peter. So I grew up being called Pete for a very long time until my name was given to me from, going to the Gurdwara and getting a name. Then I was given that name.
Yeah.
There's people I know that call me Pete, there's people that call me Dal, people call me Dalbir, people call me Seng.
Yeah.
Right? There's people call me Paji. Now I'm getting used to the variety of names in a good way, though, not in a negative way. Sorry, did I interrupt your point?
No, absolutely no.
It's an interesting one.
That you let it slide for yourself.
But for my son, I did it.
There's a point. I'd probably do the same. Ajay. It's
exactly
the same principle. I've my whole life I've left it as which. The positive thing is, I actually have people ask me, which one would you prefer?
So I'm like that ages now. So while growing up, it was Nabs, Nibs, whatever nickname people wanted to give me. Now, at my ripe old age, I'm like, I would prefer someone to call me Nabeel, my full name. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not calling me a nickname.
It's funny, right? The only person...
No, you don't. You don't. Give me back my
The only person that calls me Dalbir is my wife, and that's when I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
She will say, Dalbir?
Yeah.
You can't say that. Okay.
This is an interesting one. What traditions do you hold on to, and which have you had to reshape? What traditions have you had to reshape for modern life? And I'm going to give you my one as an interesting one. I hate Indian timing. And you know what? Fact. I've got it to the stage where I've got my son to repeat the Roy Keane phrase every time, which is to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late.
Yeah.
To be late is unforgivable.
Yeah.
And that's a motto. I say that having been an hour and a half late to my own wedding.
Yeah.
But
I've always been very strong on timing. I have to be on time. Have to be early. Punctuality is very, very important.
Standard time.
Asian standard time. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like when we go to a wedding. It's like when you go to a wedding. They've got the wedding invitation, and wedding starts at 6 o'clock. People don't turn up till 7. Food doesn't get out till 9, kind of thing. And that, and you're absolutely right. It is a big one. Probably not something that I would consciously change later on. I think it's just I want my kids to see, okay, well, Dad's up every day at a specific time. He goes to work at a specific time. He's there, so it's good to have obviously good timing and things like that. If somebody tells me to be at their house at 1 o'clock, I'll be at their house for 1 o'clock, kind of thing. So I don't know, but it's a good one, AJ.
Do you know when it comes to tradition? I think the one tradition that I'm holding on to is the tradition of change. Change is a big part of the South Asian community. We've changed dramatically over the centuries, millennia even, yeah? So for me, I'm not holding on to a particular thing, a tagga, a string, or something. But tradition, change as a tradition is important to me. And we've gone through the world with every country, there's a South Asian representation.
Yeah.
And change is the one thing that has been the driving thing that we can all connect with. We've had to change our diets, we've had to change our food, how we eat things differently. In India, you eat roti 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Here, I think I'll be lucky to get it once a week. That's not a complaint. Yeah, right. You get me? So I think, and I'm not trying to be too philosophical about it, but yeah, change, I think, is an overlooked tradition. We've all got it. And it's been an important part of our heritage.
Yeah.
This is one thing that's kept us driving forward, I think.
Yeah. I think one of the traditions that I've stuck to, and I've always liked it, and I try to instill it into my kids as well. And I try to, the way I react or act with my nephews and nieces is that respect, a high level of respect that you have for your elders. Yeah. I think we've lost that in these generations. Growing up, you see how certain youth are towards elders. It doesn't mean, and I don't mean elders in has to be your own specific elders. It can be general, Uncle John, your next door neighbour, how you treat them as an elder. Do you know, so that's a big thing for me.
I'll give you a challenge to that. So the one challenge I have with that is that I struggle when I don't get the respect back.
See, so I was just going to
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I've had this with, as much as even my own parents, I've had that. If I can't be treated like an adult,
and you expect me to
use that respect.
And absolutely, and I 100% agree. Respect is earned; it's not given. Yeah. It's been a very difficult transition from you just have to do what they say because they're older than you. Yeah,
that's it, right? So we've got to be careful with that.
We're at the stage now where I now, as a 41-year-old man, can have a adult conversation with my dad or with my mom, not be disrespectful, and just say, "Look, I am an adult as well now. You have to respect my opinion because I've seen the world as well. You are my mum, you are my dad, you are my grandparents. You're not going to know everything." It's about having that conversation with them respectfully, honestly, and then that's how you have the and that's how it's like it's that change thing, isn't it, Dalbir? What you were saying that, like AJ said, we just dealt with it because they were elders.
Well, you just said Dalbir, am I in trouble?
No. Because you said the name was Dalbir, so it's my duty now to call you by your name. That growing up, you were just, if your uncle said something to you, your dad said something to you.
Yeah, blind devotion is a very dangerous thing. And that's, if I'm going to leave something behind out of a tradition, it's that.
Yeah.
Because I learned the hard way, right? The way I was raised and some of the things that happened in my household. People not questioning things led to like a philanthropy, abuse and things like that. And that, because they were a different generation. These people went through the shift from colonialism.
Yeah.
The violence that people saw was unprecedented. I don't think we discuss it enough.
Yeah.
But so that's something else. But I think, definitely I'm not a person that's going to do something because you are older than me.
Yeah.
I will give you the time of day. I will try to
Yeah.
be courteous. But if I sense that you can't mirror that,
Yeah.
sorry.
But this is what I mean by I'm exactly the same as you. I grew up with they're your elders. No matter what they say, if they said the sky's green, you got to agree that the sky's green. But it doesn't work that way anymore. And this is why I said with my nephews and nieces, I treat them with love, honor, and respect.
Yeah. It's important.
And because I know then when he calls me, when my nephew calls me Chacha or Mama or whatever it is, and they're saying it out of respect and honor. So and they know that this uncle, I can have a proper conversation with them. Do you understand? So you build that relationship. Trust is earned. Respect is earned. So you have to. That's a change that I've had to make, but it is one that I still hold very dear. That as an elder, I respect because they've seen a little bit more of the world.
Yeah, you got to listen.
Yeah. But you've got to. It's got to be. There's got to be a balance to it.
Shouldn't be. And this is an interesting conversation.
But like you said, blind.
I had this conversation in my house where I've said to my wife that I don't want to be a dad that says do that because I'm your dad.
Yes.
I want to be able to give you a piece of advice, but also educate you enough to be able to agree or disagree.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw my toys at the pram because I'm your dad because you made a decision. The evidence is in front of you.
Yeah.
You do what's right for you. That's the kind of conversation that I said to Sheila. I said, like, at some point, that even just by nature has its own way, the shift of power changes hands.
Yeah.
We are in control. We're the parents now. But there is a state when we become almost infant again.
Yeah.
And then they be the ones. So I think in my house, I've had the conversation. I've seen the future.
Yeah.
Come back to this where I am now and said, right, I need to get them independent.
Yeah.
We need to respect each other.
Yeah.
On a mutual ground, not just dad is dad, and because I'm more than that.
Yeah.
So I would like my opinion back to that point. That I was, don't just say it because I'm your dad. Or I'm an Asian. Am I saying the right thing? And tell me if I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I've also had like different influences in my life, and I may come to a conclusion not for the right reason. So my kids in my home are a way of testing my knowledge, and it is open for debate. It is not the final answer. I'm happy to be challenged.
Yeah.
And bite my pride. And if I have to change, I'll change.
No, and to some levels, I'm the same as well. It's my duty to educate my children. It's my duty to educate the next generation. But it's also to go, I've given you my opinion on it now. If you go out there and it works for you, what you did, then I need to understand that my opinion is not valid anymore. However, if you go out there and make a mistake, it's to know that you can come back and go, Dad, I tried it my way. I made a mistake. I think I should listen. I think I'm going to try and listen to you a little bit more. It's just about educating and being open and honest with them. Yeah.
What do you hold on to or it's kind of reshaped modern life?
Eating roti once a week at least. Got to hold on to that tradition.
Oh, so that one we've like scrapped completely in our house. Me and Harvey living by ourselves after we got married, coming from households where roti is the daily meal.
Yeah.
So that's one I probably need to get back to a bit more.
I mean, I could do that. I could do atta. I just can't make the round
it's
beautiful.
The convenience. I can make the round.
Invest in the roti matic.
I can do the roti. It's the time to make.
It is. That's the change, isn't it? There's a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Well,
getting that high level of protein. It's like
man. Different challenges.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a nice tradition. I know it's a nice tradition to hold on to, having your own food, things like that. But you know what?
Bread is the
Very rarely do we have roti, jawal, all this sort of thing in the house. There's such a diversity of food that we eat nowadays. I had pasta, I had enchiladas yesterday. I thought of eating an enchilada 20 years ago. My mum would have gone, what's an enchilada? I'll say
just a roti.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I like the mix, but I also like to when my mum makes it, when my grandmother makes it, and I eat it, and I'm like,
it's different.
Yeah,
they made it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I actually love the fact that this is like our food of our.
Geez, what about like weddings and traditions in that sense? There's some beautiful things that are present in tradition in that sense, right? Is there something that you think you would hold on to still?
I think probably all of that.
Wow.
However, it's understanding the why we do what we do.
Big why, right?
So
Who's the day?
there's so many things that we do during our weddings and you just do it because they told us to. And me and Dal have this conversation all the time, and we're like, who's they? Who told you to do it, and why are you doing it? But throughout my wedding, we were trying to understand certain things. So usually you'd have your grandparents in the house telling you to do something, and they may or may not be able to explain why.
Yeah.
But I've never grown up with grandparents around me.
Yeah.
So my mum was going through a wedding in her household for the first time, and mum didn't have that guidance either. So it was both of us together trying to understand, okay, well, we know we're going to do this. Can we try and figure out why?
Yeah.
Do we know the meaning behind a lot of these ceremonies and the things that we do? And we piece together some of it.
Yeah, you did a good job.
You don't know how much of it is true.
Yeah.
You know, you've got internet, you've got talking to people. People interpret things differently as well. So things have evolved. But okay, we're going to do that because that's what we want to do.
Meaning gives it power as well, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
understanding and doing that and you two going through that journey together, you and your mum. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great bit of problem solving, right?
Yeah.
Mate, did you get all the answers? Nah, but look, and I think, look, that's great because that's a tradition, but a change in tradition.
Yeah.
Generally, it's given to you. You go and there's a command. You go and do. Here's an opportunity to not do it away, but work together.
Yeah.
2 generations to figure out how it should be. That's a beautiful thing, man.
So, as an example, usually with the Punjabi pre-wedding party, the jagor, that preparation before the wedding, things are paid for and hosted by the mum's side of the family, the nanke. But we didn't do that in that sense. But my mum wanted to make them feel like that was their night. They are the guests of honour. You have come to represent Jeevan's mom's family, Jeevan's grandparents who aren't here. And she wrote a speech for them. She printed a board with their baby pictures on it of them with my grandparents. And she was saying, this is your night. You are guests of honour and thank you for coming. And this is our tradition now. Not the tradition that you're going to pay for the wedding, because that's what they previously would have done.
That's a beautiful thing.
And you're giving Jeevan away. But thank you for being here. And you're honouring the people that aren't here in that vein.
That's beautiful.
So things like that we will definitely hold on to.
I've seen like Pakistani weddings as a like part of tradition. The Pakistani weddings and obviously we try to do things from an Islamic point of view because that's our main point. But when you see Pakistani weddings now, the culture that we've held on to, even after the split,
Punjabi's at heart, bro.
all the way through, everything that was done. I remember my chacha getting married in Pakistan, and some of the things that they were doing, like the lota over their head and all these sort of things. And I'm sitting there going, they find that ring in the dog and all this. And I'm like sitting there going, what is all of these? And I'm asking my grandmother, and I'm like, what's all this sort of thing? And she goes, this is what we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
And I was like, but why? And I was like, where's it come from? Where's it come from? And is whether I agree with it or disagree with it from a religious point of view, it's fun to watch. It's nice to see that we've still held on to cultural stuff.
It does make things interesting.
That even though we got partitions,
it does make things interesting.
We got partitions and separated. We still held on to so much that kept us together as one community back in the day.
Gangana. That's what it's called. I lost that game. On purpose.
And that's our first show for this week. Thank you to Ajay, Nabeel, Dalbir and Jeevan. To find out more about Wesleyan, go to wesleyan.co.uk or find us on the website formerly known as Twitter, over on Facebook, Instagram or LinkedIn. And if you found this podcast useful, you can like and subscribe to us on all the usual platforms, as well as find us on YouTube, where there's a whole library of videos covering a wide range of financial planning topics. But that's it for now. So until next time, thanks for listening.